Hello, I'm Helen Kemp from Optimum Thinking, and today I'd love to share a little about our Optimum Life journal that we've designed to help people become better self-governors and self-leaders so they can consciously create the optimum life that they dream of. It's our habits of thinking that create our habits of behaviour, and that in turn creates our achievements in life. Let's unpack that a little bit. How we think about things is actually the meaning we create on it, which creates the emotional reaction in our system to either want us to do something or not do something. The more consciously we investigate our thinking and create empowering meanings around it, the more effortlessly we'll be able to create really valuable things in our lives. In fact, all areas of our life, both in our working life, where we tend to be very good at goal setting, but also in our personal life, in fact, all areas of our life. Achieving what you want empowers you to live your optimum life and experience a sense of fulfillment like never before. During the last 25 years, I've been researching personal development and human behaviour extensively. And during that time, what I've found is that in order to have a sense of a meaningful life and a sense of fulfillment, we actually need to have a balance between getting what we want in our life and perceiving that we're actually reaching the goals that we're after, and balancing that with a sense of actually being of value to other people and helping them. So everyone wants to make a difference in the world, so the difference is made through getting what we want and also helping other people get what they want. That way the whole of humankind starts to transform further. When we have that sense of equality between self-worth and other worth, we'll feel more balanced, we'll be more aligned with what we really want, and make our choices and decisions from that empowered position rather than a state of emotional reaction. So we'll be able to get ourselves into inspired action more often and actually be able to move forward more quickly. So developing new habits of mind and new habits of behaviour requires a number of things. First of all, you need a big enough why to actually change what you're doing now. So you need a big enough why to create 10 to 15 minutes in your day somewhere to consciously improve the result in your life, to consciously become more aware of what you're doing with your resources and consciously make decisions about how you want to shift or change, if at all. If you're a person who's already got everything you want in life and you're happy where you are and there's nothing to do not buy this book, it's not for you. If on the other hand you're like me and the vast majority of people I talk to and you'd like to get the max you can out of your life, then this is the perfect journal for you to start using. The second thing is understanding how and what to do. So the front of the journal has detailed instructions so that you can actually read them up front to understand in more depth what I'm talking about today, as well as refer back to them whenever you want to. The third thing is to make a decision about when specifically in the day you're going to use the journal and take the 10 to 15 minutes required and stick to it. I highly recommend that you tag it on to some other habit you already do. For example, one client actually does it straight after dinner each night. So she actually finishes her meal, clears the table, sits down at the table and writes in the journal for 10 to 15 minutes, shares that around the table and then gets on with the rest of the evening. That way you're set up at night for actually better quality sleep and getting your unconscious mind working for you before you get up the next morning. My husband and I actually do ours just before we clean our teeth each night. We use that as our trigger. We think, oh, it's time to clean our teeth. We go, nope, got to do our journal first. We sit back at the dining room table, write them out and read them to each other. It's a very powerful technique to actually fully understand what's going on in each other's life and to be able to help each other get what we want in life. That's actually really critical for a long-term, meaningful relationship. The next thing is actually repetition. It's why we set it up as a daily habit. This book has got annual planning, monthly planning, and then daily planning. I can't stress loudly enough or importantly enough that it's about the repetition which creates the new habits of mind and therefore the new habits of behaviour that gets you new and better results. And finally, you need a bit of determination and willpower when you're doing something new. So when you fall off the horse, it's all about getting back on the horse and actually keep going. So if you forget a day or two of your journal, please make sure that you don't make that an excuse to stop. Just get it out again and start again. The number of times my coaching clients call me for a checking session because they're saying I'm a bit out of balance, and the first question I ask is, how are you going using your journal? They go, oh, I've forgotten. and they get back on their journal and actually get back in control of their lives. It's all about self-leadership and self-governance so that you can get what you want in your life. And I'm often asked, why is it a big fat book? Well, developing a habit requires that daily practice that I mentioned. So I developed it as a great big fat A4 book that is really in your face. Beautiful big blue butterfly to represent transformation, because that's the only constant in life is transformation or change, okay? For this to actually be in your face. So I suggest that you can't really hide it when it's that big. So some people like to leave it on their bedside table. We leave ours on our dining room side table thing. Wherever it's in your face is where I suggest you leave it. It's also a big fat book because in this day and age of a million apps in our phone, we lose them. This is about making that habit really conscious at first. I recommend that you use a physical copy for at least a year. If after a year you're committed to doing it daily, then by all means, put it in a Word document, whatever form, spreadsheet, whatever form you want to do, it's fine. But in the short term, please use it as a physical book until you're 100% sure you'll keep doing it. Many of my clients actually prefer it as a physical book because they like the actual art of writing, handwriting in it every night to reconnect with what they're achieving in their life. As I mentioned, the book has several sections to it. The annual planning section up the front is actually where we plan our life in an annual sense. To date, my career has had 3 phases in it. The first phase or stage was when I was a teacher, head of department and deputy principal in schools. In this stage, we actually used to plan at the lesson level, the day level, the week level, the month level, the term level, the year level, and also the 5-year strategic planning level. The planning is what kept the routine in the organisation and kept it growing and evolving. The second phase of my career was where I was on the leadership team in organisational development for 3 educational institutions. It was in this stage of my career that I actually saw the value of creating long-term goals for legacy that actually endures way beyond my lifetime. So as leaders of those institutions, we had to think 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead, 50 years ahead, and even 100 years ahead when we were setting our goals for what the organisation would be like and how we could get it to sustain. It amazes me how many people I work with have done incredible planning in their business life, but don't actually apply it to their individual life. The front section of our journal is about annual planning, but we purposely get you to plan in all 7 areas of your life. I was recently working with a client who it just had never occurred to her to actually apply all of her planning skills that she'd used daily at work to the rest of her life. And she was retired at the time and feeling somewhat lost and as an underachiever. Once we got her to just transfer those skills into the rest of her life, she was off and running, achieving what she wanted. In the Optimum Life Journal, we actually ask you to do your planning in 7 areas of life. It's amazing how many people I work with do incredible detailed planning in their career, but forget to actually transfer those skills into the rest of their life. We use these 7 areas to plan, but it's just an organising device. It's not to dictate to you how you should live your life. It's to just open up your thinking so you're consciously choosing more about what goals you're setting and what you're achieving. There's no right or wrong here, and you're not supposed to achieve equally in each area. That's not what work-life balance is about. This is about creating the life you choose, and if you're really inspired by your work, you're going to spend way more of your time on work than anything else. If in fact you're really inspired by work, you won't actually feel like you're working a day in your life. It's whatever area most inspires you is where you'll be putting most of your energy. All we recommend is that you look carefully at areas you have no goals in, because they're your weaknesses, they're your weak spots that other people can overpower you in. So for example, if you don't empower yourself in the area of finance, so you're not actually learning to save or have a savings plan, learning to budget, learning to forecast, learning to look at investments that are wise, you'll end up very gullible in that area, and either you'll eventually save up some money and then you'll give it to someone who you think is going to make you a lot of money. Generally they're the ones who make themselves a lot of money. Or you'll end up in too much debt because the bank will loan you more money than you really should be borrowing, and then you'll end up with what I call dumb debt that is very challenging to repay. This is true for all the areas. So just really consider where you're setting goals, and in the areas you're not, what will that mean to you? It's still completely your choice. You're in charge of it. It's just an organizing tool to create more self-awareness for yourself. Now, once we've done the annual planning, we have a look at the different levels of planning within that. So the next level is monthly. In order to do your monthly plans, we suggest that you review your annual goals. So look at the front section first, then your goals from the previous month, and see which ones you can tick off, because we all like our to-do list checked off. And then holding all of that in mind, set your goals for the coming month. If you find that you've got some goals there that you're moving from month to month and not actually achieving, it's actually your time to check in and see how important they are to yourself. If it was really important to you, you would have done something about it. So the question becomes, do you just cross it off the list? Is it really important to you, or do you just think it's something you should be doing? If it's something that feels too big to do, then your unconscious mind will just run away from it. So the best thing to do there is break down all of the action steps required to achieve that larger goal and just put one or two of the small ones into the next month's goals. Make it doable. Make it a can-do goal, one that you can actually achieve, not one that you think you should achieve. If you hear yourself saying you should do this or you should do that, you're just injecting other people's beliefs or priorities on yourself. Have a look at what you really are inspired to do, set goals according to that, and you will start achieving them. The monthly check-in is designed to actually help you create meaningful goals that are important to you, that are in a size that feels doable. You'll start to create a more fulfilled life as you start to see yourself ticking off those things that are important to you. In the next section, which is the majority of the book, it's our daily practice section. Remember I said we need to practice daily because that's that repetition that creates the behavior that we want. In each day there's 3 sections, and at the top of each page, on one side you'll see an inspirational quote from a guru of personal development, and on the other side an optimum thinking skill reminder to help you stay in the habit of thinking in an optimum way. The 3 sections are explained in detail in the front of the book, so you can go back and refer to that. But basically each of the pages is one day, and there's 3 sections in it. This particular spread is January 1 and 2, but you can start this journal on any day of the year. So it's designed as a 366-day journal in case there's a leap year, and you can actually pick any day that you like to start. Some people like to start on the 1st of January because that feels complete or comfortable for them. I like to start on the 1st of July because that's our financial year, and I prefer to do my planning mid-year rather than the very busy end of the year cycle, which always seems to mean my planning gets squished out of the way. Other people like to start on their birthday. If you're into astrology, then your birthday is a great time to do it because that's the beginning of a new cycle. Other people just start on the day they receive it in the mail. It's whatever date feels right for you. So we'll go through now these 3 sections on the page. This one here, here and here. The first section in our daily practice is actually practicing gratitude daily. When we do that, we create more coherence in our heart and brain, and that means we feel more balanced, we're able to improve our sleep, and we have a better sense of well-being. We tend to feel more safe and secure. There's more and more scientific research where neuroscientists are actually measuring the brain and seeing what happens when we go into the state of gratitude, and what that happens chemically in our system as well to actually create that sense of well-being in us. It actually makes us more balanced, more stable. We're able to tune into our intuition more, and from that state of gratitude we make much better decisions because we're tuning into our intuition and doing what we perceive we want rather than just reacting emotionally. So getting back into gratitude gets us out of emotional reaction and back into an inspired action state. Hugely powerful for getting what we want. The second daily practice is actually where we go beyond emotional intelligence, where we just learn about body language and different things around emotional intelligence, and we develop our emotional mastery skills through a daily practice. In this section, we practice with the omnipresent or universal law called the law of duality, and we have a look at something we perceive is actually really great or was really sucked on the day, and we got all emotional about it, so we take either of those and we look for where the opposite is also true. So when we perceive something was really shocking in our day, or really annoying, or we got really angry about it, we have a look at where the benefits were in that particular thing until we can bring it back to balance. On the other hand, if we perceive something was really amazing and wonderful that day, then we can actually look at where the drawbacks were in it. A lot of people wonder why we would do that, but in fact, if you're thinking something's wonderful, it actually makes you gullible to actually being taken advantage of. So we want to see that everything has equal benefits and drawbacks, or positives and negatives in it, because that again gets us back to that balanced state where we're actually in inspired action rather than emotional reaction. The third section of our daily practice is where we prioritize our priorities and focus on the top things that will help you achieve your optimum life. We are so busy day to day, and we have so many options for where we can invest our time, mind, energy and resources. If we don't now prioritize our top priorities on that endless to-do list, we will feel like we're just scrambling and running all the time. Just focus not on that whole to-do list, but just the top 3 to 5 priorities that will help you move towards getting your most important goals. That way we always feel like there's some small bit that's helping us every day get what feels really inspiring for us to achieve. And finally, when is the perfect time to develop your skills as a self-governor and self-leader? I would think it's as soon as possible. The Optimum Life Journal is also the perfect gift for all occasions. I have one client who comes every early December and buys 2 copies for each of her daughters and gives it to them for Christmas every year. I have other clients who come just before their birthday and buy it for themselves. I have clients who buy it for their best friends for presents. You know, those people who have everything and they don't really need anything. This is something that you can give them every year. That people buy them for Valentine's Day, for Mother's Day, for Father's Day. They buy them as thank you gifts. One of my clients buys it as a thank you gift for her children's teacher every year, to thank them for the year of learning. I have another client who buys them to use as prizes in their raffles. And the other thing that you can do is actually, most importantly, buy it as a gift for yourself. Give yourself the gift of becoming more conscious as a self-leader and self-governor. After all, no one else dedicates their life to you other than you. Finally, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. I'd love you to join our global community of Optimum Thinkers by just connecting on either Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, please email us at info@optimumthinking.net. Just stress the .net. And if you have any suggestions for improvement for the journal, we're always open to hearing those. This is our 3rd version of the book. We're always looking on ways to improve it, but our goal is to keep it as simple as possible so you'll use it. We don't want it to become too complicated that it doesn't get used. Thank you again, and all the best for creating the optimum life that you choose.